service of CNC Worldwide.
The Daily is a service of CNC News and Jib Jab Greetings. I'm Bud Lowell. Full AccuWeather forecast right across the top of every CNC local news page. The New York State Senate surprised many of its own members early this morning when the leaders suddenly brought up a bill that exempts off-duty and retired police officers from the ammunition restrictions in the New York Safe Gun Control Law. The measure came to the floor just before 2 a.m. from the joint Republican and Independent Democratic team that now controls Senate business. That's 2 o'clock Friday morning. They say by Twitter that it passed 49-14. A short time later, the leadership waived the usual 3-day waiting period with a message of necessity. According to the Albany Times-Union, the move literally drew shouts of protest from several Republican senators who didn't like the fact that it came up with no notice and who would rather see the entire NY SAFE Act repealed instead of amended. This amendment has already passed the state assembly. It now goes to Governor Cuomo, who hasn't said what he'll do with it. If he signs it, retired law officers will be exempted from the requirement to load no more than 7 rounds in a semi-automatic weapon. The New York State Assembly passed Governor Andrew Cuomo's Women's Equality Act Thursday. Now the question is whether the state Senate will act on any parts of it in their final session Friday. The Assembly approved the governor's 10-point omnibus plan, but the Senate refuses to consider that version of the bill because it puts the right to abortion into state law. The Senate has broken the measure into individual bills and plans to take up the parts relating to equal pay and protection of domestic violence victims separately. Senate Republican leader Dean Skelos says he will block any attempt to write Roe v. Wade into state law. Asked what the Assembly would do if some of the points passed the Senate, Speaker Sheldon Silver said, "That's not the way we do legislation." Abby Wambach made soccer history Thursday night. She's become the all-time leading scorer in women's soccer by putting her 159th and 160th goals into the net during a 5-0 victory for the USA team over Republic of Korea. Wambach scored 4 times in front of a boisterous crowd at the Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. Her career total is now 160. That breaks Mia Hamm's record of 158 goals in international play. Wambach blew a kiss to the crowd after her 159th goal and was then mobbed by her teammates. A Monroe County court judge has rejected a plea agreement for the Brighton teenager charged in a crash with a school bus. 17-year-old John Zachary's attorney had reached a deal with the Monroe County District Attorney to plead guilty in return for probation. But Judge James Piampiano refused to sign off on the plea deal unless Zachary also agrees to serve 12 weekends in jail. Both sides are back in court July 10th. Zachary has that long to decide if he'll accept the jail time or go to trial on charges that include reckless driving and violating his restricted driver's license. Zachary was driving 3 friends home from Brighton High School last October when he crashed his car into the back of a stopped school bus on Warren Avenue. The car was forced underneath the bus. All 4 students were injured. As the holder of a junior license, Zachary should not have had that many non-family members in his car. Webster teenager Michael Pilato was found guilty on all counts Thursday by a Monroe County court jury. The jury found Pilato guilty on 3 counts of second-degree murder, attempted murder, and arson for setting fire to his home in December of 2011. That fire killed his father Carmen and his brothers Peter and Joshua. Pilato will be sentenced July 24th, and he faces between 7.5 years to life in state prison. Eastman Kodak has its exit financing package to get out of bankruptcy. The company has secured up to $895 million through agreements with some leading financial institutions, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and Barclays. The financing package is the cash Kodak needs to pay off its secured creditors once it emerges from bankruptcy, and the operating money it will use to set up its new, smaller organization and operate while it reorganizes. Creditors will also be getting new Kodak stock as a separate part of this reorganization plan. The financing agreement is subject to U.S. bankruptcy court approval. The Orleans County Sheriff's Office says a woman was seriously injured in a single-car crash in the town of Carlton early Friday morning. Deputies say the woman smashed her car into a concrete bridge abutment on Eagle Harbor Road about 5 a.m. She was trapped and had to be extricated from the wreck by firefighters. She was taken by Mercy Flight helicopter to Strong Memorial Hospital, and the cause is still under investigation. To the left of the player window, you'll find links to these and other stories, and at the bottom of the page, if you're watching on CNC sites, links you can use to post news directly to us. Next podcast is As It Happens, updates are as necessary. And I'm Bud Lowell, CNC News. Have a great weekend.